We heard you haven't subscribed to VHS Rewind yet. Horror, comedy, or TNA, Christopher and Mark cover it all. What are you waiting for? Subscribe now.
In a world of mindless movie cliches, one podcast fights back. Critics are calling it profound, epic, free. Prepare to revisit your video cassette memories of the 1980s and 90s. Behold, it's VHS Rewind.
Hello and good evening. My name is Mark, and I am talking this evening with the dastardly Christopher. How are you, Chris?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to do an R2D2.
A what? An R2D2?
Yes?
Well, you know,
Or
do you know what
Chewbacca?
Oh, jeez. Do you know where R2D2's name comes from?
I do. I'm gonna have a lot of questions like this.
His name basically comes from a form of film editing jargon. Technically, it means reel to and dialogue to.
Really? Oh.
Yep. Yeah.
So the C-3PO, does that have any?
That I do not know, but I know there's an R5D4, so it kind of follows that same exact type of thought.
So what are we talking about this week?
Star Wars: A New Hope, Episode 4.
So I am coming in as I am not a Star Wars file.
I don't know if I am either. I think
What?
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but
You have every single version of every single release of every single Star Wars movie.
well, you know, I do not have a Betamax copy.
Maybe soon.
And we were just talking about that. So yeah, maybe soon. Now, the thing is, you know, I'm a tremendous fan of the movies. I've watched the original trilogy countless times. I'm introducing it to my son. As I watch the movie, I say the lines. I have way too many toys from Star Wars, mint on card, going back to not the original, but Empire Strikes Back. Like from Alexander's, I have a number of figures that are mint on the card with like the little price tag of like $2.99.
Nice.
And so I have way too many things that a 41-year-old should have, having to do with Star Wars. Boxes. I mean, I'm talking boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of Star Wars toys. But I don't know if I'm a true aficionado, whereas I know every little thing, because even when I quote, sometimes I'll find myself paraphrasing.
Interesting. Okay, I thought you're still a much bigger obsessive fan than I am.
I guess I am very much an obsessive fan.
I remember when Star Wars came out, but I didn't see that in the theater. I know I read the novel because I was into reading at the time.
You read the novel before the movie?
I did. And then I remember when Empire came out, I read the novel. I didn't see these things until video. And Jedi, I remember when that came out, didn't read the novel there, but I saw that one in the theater.
Right.
And I saw the Ewoks and I was shaking my head. So
you're still shaking your head about the Ewoks.
Still shaking my head. So right away, I have a question for you about Star Wars first trilogy versus Star Wars second trilogy the prequel trilogy, Phantom Menace in particular. Like, why? Why? So maybe I'm not a Star Wars fan. I saw Phantom Menace in the theater, and I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
I haven't seen the Star Wars stuff, the originals, since God knows when. So when I saw Phantom Menace, I liked it. And I learn later that everybody is shitting on Phantom Menace for the same things that appear in this original Star Wars, like the stupid sidekick humor, Jar Jar Binks versus, R2D2 and C3PO shtick and the Wookiee shtick.
Yeah, I mean, there's and I'm going to link this to the show notes. There's a guy on YouTube who goes through a very in-depth comparison of why Jar Jar Binks is more important to the Star Wars universe than Chewbacca. And he goes into and he points out very good points, and
because he's read all of the all the fanfic books and all of the comics and
no. For the most part, I think he's basing it mostly on the movies.
Oh, is he really? Okay.
I mean,
I had no problems with Jar Jar Binks. I mean, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I got the same kind of I guess comic relief that I got from Chewbacca. I really did. I think that you get these people who are our age. They grew up with Chewbacca. They looked up to Chewbacca. They thought Chewbacca's cool. And then you see another comic relief. You see somebody else doing the same type of shtick. And
more broad, perhaps.
Different. Just different. You know, it's like watching another comic. It's like, loving George Carlin, and then there's a new comic. Like you take a Louis C.K., and you really can't compare the two, but at the same time, it's a very similar type of humor.
Right.
But people hate Louis C.K., so I don't. Personally, I like him a lot. But that aside, I think that's very difficult for people to not only watch these movies and have them be what they've always wanted them to be, which is impossible. You can never ever live up to what we expected for the decades that we hoped these movies would actually come out. It's impossible. You just can't do it. The end. Thank you for listening.
I mean, to show you how much I'm not really into Star Wars, although, I like them. I haven't seen Phantom Menace in a while, so I can't do a Jar Jar Binks imitation.
Well, I'll put one in right here.
This is very bad.
I mean, getting back to the original Star Wars then, which, again, I haven't seen it in forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's been forever since I've last seen this movie.
Now, I know you watched the actual VHS copy of this.
I just had an eye-opening experience because I did watch this VHS presentation,
which I think was fun to watch.
It was, but it's
very soft,
and it's got the tracking marks. The screen is shaped like an old TV that I used to have.
It's like 4:3 ratio.
And things didn't. It was like a very dull picture. It was like, again, just exactly what I would have seen watching it with my parents on TV back in whenever it came on TV.
Right, 1924 or something.
It looked just really old
mm-hmm.
and kind of creaky. And then I watched this I guess it's the new Blu-ray or whatever.
Well, let me just explain what we did watch.
Please.
We watched a fan edit. It's called the Despecialized Edition. Now, this cannot be purchased. It would be illegal to purchase this. This is a version that is only for people who have went out and bought the movies. What this person has done is painstakingly color corrected the movie. He has edited to the best of his ability to what would have been seen in the theater in 1977. Color-wise, somehow he got his hands on a very good bootleg from then. So he was able to color correct and he put everything back to the way it was supposed to be.
I thought, I mean, again, comparing it to that VHS thing, it really popped. I mean,
right? It's very, very clean. And
it looked like a completely different movie.
It's like putting on glasses if you wear glasses.
Just the way everything was gleaming, and Vader looked more menacing and more shiny.
It was epic, too. It had a big feel to it.
It really was. And the letterboxing, and I mean, it was just an amazing difference.
Another thing, I don't know if you noticed this. When the movie began...
Yes, I made a note of that.
Of episode 4?
Yes, when the scroll starts.
Yes.
So that VHS version, I thought Star Wars was always known as episode 4.
I believe it was always known as, but in the original theatrical release, it did not say episode 4, A New Hope. I believe that was only added when Empire Strikes Back was coming out, or when the VHS release came.
Ouch, I did not know that.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it was when I just remember it being almost a rumor that, what do you mean it's part 4? There are more? So it was one of these things that got thrown around in probably 3rd grade or something.
So I always wanted to, again, not being the fan. So, all right, I know 4, 5, 6, and now I know 1, 2, 3. Do you know what the storyline is of 7, 8, 9? Like, isn't everybody defeated at the end of Return of the Jedi? So I didn't know where the story was supposed to go. And it's probably going to go in this new iteration that's coming out.
Well, not everyone is defeated at the end of...
I mean...
Vader's defeated, and the Emperor's defeated at the end of Jedi.
And isn't that the entire Empire right there?
Well, you think it is. We also thought that, the Jedi were totally eliminated until we found out that Yoda's living in a swamp somewhere, and Obi-Wan Kenobi's living on a desert planet where they harvest moisture. Where Luke Skywalker, lives in a hole, in a pit, whining.
Take these two over to the garage, will you? I want them cleaned up for dinner.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done. Now, come on, get to it.
Why is Obi-Wan Kenobi an exalted Jedi Knight living like a hermit? I just didn't understand why he...
Well, a Jedi doesn't believe in having possessions. Keep in mind.
Right, but why isn't he helping the rebels at all? Why does it take...
I got into... I didn't get into this, but I read an argument on Facebook where people were saying, I feel as though Yoda was a coward. Yoda abandoned the Jedi, leaving and hiding in the swamp. I feel like sometimes you have to let everything die and collapse when it's gone too far, in order to get it to be reborn. And I think that's what had to happen. Everyone had to sacrifice everything in order to win the fight. Yoda had to sacrifice... the Jedi were already being eliminated. You had Darth Vader was a tyrant. Everything was just way out of control, and you had these twins who carried were in the lifeline of this powerful Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hide them. This is our last chance. So they put all of their eggs in one basket. They separated them, and Obi-Wan Kenobi's job was basically to make sure that Luke was going to... I'm not really sure what he was doing. He was keeping an eye on him in Tatooine.
I was thinking, well, maybe that was his role, to take Luke when he was ready.
And Leia, she really got the better end of that stick, princess, for crap's sakes. Although she did get, the attention of Darth Vader, and she's getting kidnapped, and the whole
probed with a
probe droid, the interrogation droid, I believe. That was when I was a kid, I remember that being a creepy thing. A robot that floats with a needle. Come on.
What it was going to do was in it. Why?
And then the door closes. It's so menacing.
So just let's get into the
Well,
movie.
let's also focus. Yeah, let's try to focus on just A New Hope.
Yep.
And so the original title for this movie was The Adventures of Luke Starkiller, as taken from the Journal of the Wills, Saga 1, The Star Wars. They chose Star Wars, A New Hope.
Try putting that on a marquee.
Yeah, it's like, well, or, even if you were to just kind of abbreviate it, it's like the LSAT, FTJOTWS 1, Star Wars. I have a couple cool little things that I didn't know right away, or maybe I forgot. Vader's breathing, the sound, was actually the sound recording from a scuba regulator.
Really?
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never gone scuba diving, but I can imagine.
That was one of my initial reactions when watching Star Wars again for the first time in forever, is that I thought it was Spaceballs because
I know you're hung up on Spaceballs.
it was just that, some of it you just can't help thinking of Dark Helmet.
I can't breathe in this thing.
Right.
And not only with Vader and the breathing, but then some of the surrounding guards are also wearing a helmet, Vader-like helmets. I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, they definitely have some weird things, like the Death Star commander, the guy who puts the thing, and it's like, he has like this, like a cycling helmet on that kind of goes to a point in the back. And I'm like, that's kind of strange. And then, there are a bunch of them that are kind of,
remember, it's
strange.
1977, but I was like, why?
Right. So here's a few other facts. We have the Millennium Falcon was inspired by a hamburger with an olive on its side. All of the releases of all the Star Wars were in May, which is, and they were always just a couple weeks after George Lucas's birthday.
Interesting.
Han Solo, the character, was inspired by none other than George Lucas's friend Francis Ford Coppola.
Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, I'd like to find some home movies of Francis Ford Coppola and see if he really is kind of that swaggery. Christopher Walken and Al Pacino were at one time considered for the role of Princess Leia. No, Han Solo.
Al Pacino?
Yeah, can you imagine?
Actually, Chris Walken as Han Solo. Ouch.
In the heyday, not Al Pacino, but Walken maybe? It's hard to say. I'd have to see it. R2-D2 at one time spoke English. And he supposedly had, he was kind of rated PG-13 type of dialogue. And they ended up replacing it with the beeps and the blurps, but they left a lot of the C-3PO responses in place. So it makes sense. I'm not really sure if that's a rumor. I've never heard that before, but I came across that and thought that was kind of interesting. What else? Alec Guinness, which is probably the biggest actor in this movie.
Hey, Peter Cushing.
Oh yeah, Peter Cushing. Yeah, great. Do you know did you know he wore slippers the whole time? Because he felt that his uniform was so uncomfortable that he needed some level of comfortability. And he never showed his feet.
I bet they were little rabbit slippers too.
That'd be hilarious. But Alec Guinness once called the movie fairy tale rubbish, but he made 2% of the gross box office of the entire trilogy, which netted him a cool, smooth $95 million. And Harrison Ford made $2,000 a week for his role in the first movie.
Why is Alec Guinness worth 2% of the gross? Who would?
In 1977, it's Alec Guinness was a little bit more of a big deal then.
Can we talk about the actors in this movie?
Oh boy.
I realize it's 1977.
And it was nothing like this had ever been done, keep in mind.
I understand, but a lot of these actors are really, really, really green, and some are downright terrible. Like, I think Mark Hamill, he fluctuates wildly between serviceable and then just really terrible line readings. Just awful.
Well,
stuff.
I'm gonna give you that a little bit, but I think that it also has a little bit to do with George Lucas
And script writing, yes.
being a non-veteran at the point. I mean, George Lucas came from more of an artistic, more of an avant-garde background. And he's all of a sudden making this huge blockbuster sci-fi movie. He also made THX 1138 before this. I don't know if you'd ever seen that.
I've seen that. I just, again, a long, long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's an art film, in my opinion. It's a bigger budget art film.
But, Lucas, I don't think he got any better directing or writing.
Who did?
Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, come on. You kidding me? No, but seriously, what director's gotten better? I don't, either they're good or they're not. I feel as though I don't really see too many directors and writers getting so much better. I see maybe Woody Allen changing his style, and maybe getting better or worse, depends on how you look at it.
I just don't think Lucas was ever like.
I don't think he was ever a great, writer or director.
I'm not a big fan of American Graffiti. I was,
Yeah, I mean, American Graffiti was a halfway decent movie. It's not this Americana film that a lot of people really kind of claim it is.
I just don't think Lucas's instincts as either a filmmaker or a producer are like really good. He's just not. He's very simplistic and corny, and Star Wars is just full of it. It's and the writing is, like I say, the dialogue, the banter that comes up, that suddenly appears between Han Solo and Princess Leia, who have just met. They're being shot at by the stormtroopers, and they're breaking her out of the Death Star, and they're just doing this banter that's just not only poorly written, but poorly directed and poorly acted. In those scenes, that's when Carrie Fisher is just terrible.
See, I feel that George Lucas, I feel as though everyone was so confused in this movie. No one knew that it was going to turn into something as big as it did. And, even George Lucas, who put everything into it, there's no way he could have. I mean, he was thrown out of the, I believe, whatever directors union, because he refused to put credits in the beginning of the movie. This is a big deal. I feel as though George Lucas, I know, you're giving him a few ribs on doing things that are corny and this, I think it's easy to say that now, but, think back to 1977.
No,
what was really being done that was groundbreaking? Even the higher, even the darker films that were coming out throughout the 70s, this wasn't one of those movies. This was just different than everything else that was made, and it was copied, and it's still being copied today. He did so much that Mel Brooks felt as though it was worthy of parodying. This is such an individualistically important film to the 20th century that I feel as though it's almost, cheap shot to say, well, the acting is, bad, or George Lucas is corny, or I just feel as though, compared to what, really? No one did anything to touch. What are you going to compare this to? The black hole? Nobody was doing anything. So it's almost like, all right, it's corny, but compared to what? Like, what was better then? Like 2001?
Right, but people.
Was it called 2001 or was it 2010? I'm sorry.
2001.
Yeah.
2010 is the
Yeah,
last.
that was the second. And that's me getting passionate about the movie.
It's part of the culture because it was popular, not necessarily because it's good. 2001, you could talk about. Star Wars, you can't really talk about it except to marvel at the technical.
I disagree. This is a classic story, and it's a very simple story.
A very simple story.
But what
Simply
great
told.
stories are complicated? The bottom line is it's a father versus son conflict with a lot more technical stuff thrown in the middle of it.
Know that in Star
and
Wars.
saving the princess.
Saving the princess. That's the story.
Right. All right. Yeah, you're right. Saving the princess. But when we expand on it in part 5, we learn that there's that underlining conflict of father and son.
First of all, Empire is a much more mature.
There's no happy ending.
This story, or it's a mature continuation of it.
It's out of the whole trilogy, all of them, it's the best one by far.
Yes, but if we're focusing on Star Wars, it's really a trifle, taking on its own. It's a trifle, and I can't say it's great. It's great technically.
But
although the explosion when the Dark Star blows up Alderaan looks kind of cheesy. I think some of the effects fluctuate between really good.
Compared to what, though? Nobody had done anything like this before.
I understand that. I'm just saying. Okay, all right. You're asking me to look at it as if it's 1977 all over again.
You have to. I mean, if we're going to say that it looks cheesy, you can't say that. You can't compare it to, nearly 40 years later, technology-wise.
No, but I'm saying even when I said that about the Alderaan explosion, I mean that looks cheesy compared to when the Millennium Falcon is being pulled into the Death Star by the tractor beam, and you just see the scope, the size, and just the way things look. It looks amazing.
So you're saying like maybe the effects within the movie itself are inconsistent?
They are.
I do know what you mean with the Alderaan explosion because it's not in full motion.
Okay.
When they blow up, you see that it's not like the film's probably shot 24 frames per second. And when they show that, it's probably more like 15. You see that it's not, when they made these explosions, they did them in miniature.
Like a ball that was exploding.
And that's probably what it was.
But I'm saying, so then you have like the dogfight at the end, which looks great. I mean, it looks great. I mean, some of the explosions there look like models, but again,
but they are models. I guess that's what in my head that there are times I forget they're models.
I like real model effects work over CGI. I don't care how good or bad it is. I would take anything over CGI.
Right.
But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to relay why I'm not such a Star Wars.
I mean, I do have criticisms on the movie. Don't get me wrong. It's just I'm very defensive with this movie because I feel as though I don't think you're much of a fan of it. I think you're more of a fan of the.
I'm gonna show my kids. I have it, so I'm going to show it to them. Right. It is a touchstone. Yes, it's part of a genre I love. I just don't think it's the greatest. I don't think Star Wars is the greatest thing since forever, and I don't think George Lucas is a particularly good director in these movies. I'm sorry.
I feel as though, there's two types of people. People who just love Star Wars and people who can kind of love and hate it, and those are the assholes. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding, of course. But, with...
And again, it comes back to, I don't understand why people were coming down hard on Phantom Menace for the things that I hate, or not hate, but I'm pointing out in Star Wars. It's not just the humor, it's the lackluster scripting, the stiff acting, and so I guess that means poor direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, so going back to the actual movie. So you have the opening scene, right? The movie just starts, and you have this, a bunch of text, going up. And then it pans down, and all of a sudden, this huge ship goes by.
Iconic shot, looks great.
It happens in every single one of the movies. There's always something in the very beginning like that. And I remember the first time I saw this. And I remember, they do parody this immediately on Spaceballs. Because the ship goes on and on and on. But I just remember thinking, not only does this thing look real, and the details are all incredible, but it really does go on forever. And it's, in that opening scene with, the shooting and everything, and there's no blood. There's never any blood in any of the Star Wars movies. Even in Empire, you don't see any blood. The only blood I think the baby you see is the Wampa monster when he's eating an already dead animal. Even when Luke's hand gets cut off, there's no blood. It's kind of a weird... It's that much of a fantasy. It doesn't even want to get blood in the way of things, which I can respect.
Obi-Wan cuts off the guy's arm in the cantina scene.
No blood. Oh, wait, there was blood in that. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yep. I remember seeing that when I was watching the movie. You're right. Just because I was... Okay, so there is blood. Damn it. Damn it, Lucas. Get rid of that blood.
So here's a couple of, again, it's these little nitpicky things. I maybe we shouldn't even spend time on these things, but so you have this mega gigantic ship that is a technological marvel within the universe of this movie, and it's huge and powerful, and it can't get this tiny little ship that's running away from it. I don't understand why they don't have better technology of their laser guns or whatever.
Well, to get into the whole philosophy of Star Wars, the dark side is it's easier, it's simpler, it's the same amount of power as, I guess, the good side or the non-dark side. And that's where you talk about the Force and what the Force really represents. And what the Force is basically an all-around power that encapsulates absolutely everything. It's almost like, if you want to get it metaphysical, I guess it's like an aura.
Right.
And, it's an aura, except, with Jedis, what they can do is actually control it. And, there's this whole philosophy also that people kind of goof on it. Like, you have Han Solo saying, it's old tricks, it's considered mysticism, like Kabbalah or something. And,
yep.
And you have the true believers, I guess, who can actually manipulate it and use it.
Remember, a Jedi can feel the Force flowing through him.
You mean it controls your actions?
Partially, but it also obeys your commands.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.
You don't believe in the Force, do you?
Kid, I've flown from one side of this galaxy to the other. I've seen a lot of strange stuff, but I've never seen anything to make me believe there's one all-powerful force controlling everything. There's no mystical energy field controls my destiny. It's all a lot of simple tricks and nonsense.
And you have, and the whole premise of the whole thing is Darth Vader killed all of the Jedis who could manipulate it. And it's said how, you don't learn this until later on in other movies, but how the dark side is very persuasive and very enticing because it's easier, it's simpler, and in a lot of ways it's sexier. I made the connection that I felt as though the dark side is like a Mac, while the other side is like a PC. A Mac really does not allow you to do everything you really want to do. It doesn't really give you any real control, but it allows you to get everything done.
Oh.
While PC, you can actually do things and get into the nitty and gritty. But at the end, the end result usually is the same. Not choosing one side or the other.
Uh-huh.
Except Mac is evil. So there you go. I don't really know where I was going with all of that, but, it's basically they can't catch the Millennium Falcon because maybe the Force is on the side of the Millennium Falcon. These movies are all about luck. They're about courage and about, the little guy always kind of achieving this over-the-top thing. I mean, the fact that the weakness in the Death Star is this one little thing that's like 3 meters wide shows how, I guess, unstable they are. That they're willing to leave this one little tiny thing wide open.
Right.
And it's almost impossible to get in there, but it is possible, and that's how they defeat the Empire.
But why would the architectural plans for this Death Star allow for that?
If the rebels have obtained a complete technical readout of this station, it is possible, however unlikely, that they might find a weakness and exploit it.
The plans you refer to will soon be back in our hands.
Any attack made by the rebels against this station would be a useless gesture, no matter what technical data they've obtained. This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
Don't try to frighten us with your sorcerer's ways, Lord Vader. Your sad devotion to that ancient religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes, or given you clairvoyance enough to find the rebels' hidden fort.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
As you wish.
Because who's going to come and attack it? It's like a World Trade Center type of situation,
All right, but that's another thing I wanted to get into then. So not only that major architectural faux pas, but then
true flaw
have got to be the most stupid, humorous people.
Someone was in the pod. The tracks go off in this direction. Look, sir, droids.
So right at the beginning, when C-3PO and R2-D2 get in the escape pod and get away from Princess Leia's ship, which Darth Vader and his team are on because they're looking for the plans of the Death Star that somehow have gotten into Princess Leia's hands and which she has put on R2-D2.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
The escape pod goes away and the stormtroopers see it and they're like, there goes another one. Oh, it's okay. There's no humans on board. But you're
Again,
not.
It's about the Force. It's about the
for the plans.
Are you sure this thing is safe?
There goes another one.
Hold your fire. There's no life forms aboard. It must have short-circuited. Wait a minute. What if there are droids in the escape pod? The sensors wouldn't pick them up. And what if the rebels concealed the plans to the Death Star inside one of the droids? Open fire. Yes, sir.
There's an underlining finesse of the Force where it basically did the Jedi mind trick, in my opinion. It's like, don't look this way. Just look the other way.
No, you're not serious. And there's just a couple of instances, like, again, really stupid scripting and stupid directing, where when later on, when Han and Luke, they're now stuck on the Death Star.
Yeah.
Because the Millennium Falcon is there. So they call up some stormtroopers by, hey, can you come up here and help us out? And they come up there, and then the I don't know, the head guy who oversees the stormtroopers is like, where are you guys? Why aren't you answering? And then Luke, dressed as a stormtrooper, comes out of the Millennium Falcon, says,
taps on his helmet.
I can't hear you. And the guy's like, oh, that's okay. All right, then. So, again, really, I know it's a silly kids movie.
But think about it. We're talking about the Empire, who, they're afraid of doing anything wrong. So of course they're not going to question anything, Darth Vader's going around choking people through FaceTime. When you're working with such tyrants, you don't question anything. And the only people who are going to go and join the Empire, and the majority of them probably are clones. So they're not exactly the smartest anyway, because the DNA is getting screwed up every time it gets cloned.
I know that Darth Vader looks menacing, but the one who really exudes the menace here is Peter Cushing as Tarkin. So,
and he has some of the best quotes too.
We've analyzed their attack, sir, and there is a danger. Should I have your ship standing by?
Evacuate? In our moment of triumph? I think you overestimate their chances.
But he is just awesome in this movie, and if he wasn't already awesome from the Hammer films, I think he does a great job, even better than Sir Alec Guinness. So.
Well, I do feel as though Cushing has a certain Nazi presence about him.
He does.
And I think that was intentional.
Yep.
George Lucas is Jewish, and there are, throughout this entire movie, there are the presence of certain Third Reich ish things. Even in Phantom Menace, it appears that when they're marching, when you see the footage of the Nazis marching through Paris, it's emulated exactly in the Phantom Menace. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
I did not notice that.
No, I'll dig it up and show it to you.
When we do Phantom Menace.
Oh boy, next week. It took me 2 weeks to get you to do this one.
But you can really see Cushing's power did I mention this already? When he's facing off with Princess Leia.
No, you didn't.
When Cushing is threatening her.
Since you are reluctant to provide us with the location of the rebel base, I have chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan.
No. Alderaan is peaceful. We have no weapons. You can't
You will prefer another target, a military target? Then name the system. I grow tired of asking this, so it'll be the last time. Where is the rebel base?
Dantooine. They're on Dantooine.
There, you see, Lord Vader, she can be reasonable. Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.
What?
You're far too trusting. Dantooine is too remote to make an effective demonstration, but don't worry. We will deal with your rebel friends soon enough.
No.
Awesomely menacing, and Carrie Fisher, is just terrible as Princess Leia. I mean, she just can't do the simplest thing.
I don't know. I mean, I think
she's trying to act tough, but
she is tough. Carrie Fisher is not only pretty much the only female in all of these movies. I mean, if you want to count the Auntie, Aunt Beru, but who got fried, relatively early in the movie. Spoiler alert. She's pretty much the only female in the entire movie, and she kicks ass. She picks up the gun, she shoots, she talks back, she's not afraid to get dirty, and I applaud Carrie Fisher. I think that this is a movie that is not considered just a boys' movie. This isn't Jaws. Jaws is a boys' movie. Star Wars is a movie where you got the girls watching it too, and it's because of this one kick-ass female. And I applaud. I mean, she's a kid in this movie, And I think that she's a tough character. And I know I'm maybe you don't agree fully with all of this, but I really feel this way. And being the only female in the entire series of movies, I feel as though she carried a lot of weight on her shoulders, and I think she carried it well. And also, do you know that Darth Vader only had 12 minutes of screen time in this movie? Who knew?
Really?
12 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a fact.
Okay, so R2-D2, C-3PO get away.
You can't say anything bad about this movie. I jumped down your throat about everything.
Wait, we got to get to some stuff here. So they land on Tatooine.
We seem to be made to suffer. It's our lot in life. Where do you think you're going? Well, I'm not going that way. It's much too rocky. This way is much easier. Go that way. You'll be malfunctioning within a day, you nearsighted scrap pile. And don't let me catch you following me, begging for help, because you won't get it. That malfunctioning little twerp. This is all his fault. He tricked me into going this way, but he'll do no better.
You know, as someone who was just at the beach the other day, and I got sand in my shoes, how does C-3PO and R2-D2 just not get sand all over? How does R2-D2 roll across the sand, and then when he goes through the Jawa areas, which looks very mountainous and rocky for some reason, on an otherwise flat planet, you know, how does he get upstairs? How is he, suppose he hits I don't know. I just could not believe that.
Well, in the prequels, we learn that he does have
on this
jet propulsion.
He's got jet propulsion.
He does. He can actually fly.
This was the one scene where when R2-D2 gets captured by the Jawas.
Over here.
Wait, what's that? A transport. I'm saved. Over here!
Hey! Hey! Help! Please help!
R2? R2-D2, it is you! It is you!
All right.
Hey!
Hello, over here.
It just seemed overly dark in this despecialized version. I don't know if that was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
It seems lighter.
I'd have to look at
like that day for night thing that movies usually did. So this was the only area where I was like, wow, is that a bootleg or something? Because it looked awfully dark to me.
Well, parts of the movie he got from other places.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there are scenes in there that quality-wise won't match because they aren't available anywhere else.
Ouch.
Yeah. I mean, he pulled stuff off of Laserdisc things because, the Laserdiscs I have, for instance, have previews, and in the previews they show scenes that have never been in the movie. There's another kiss between Luke and Leia. There's a scene where this is on Empire Strikes Back, where C-3PO finds out that the stormtroopers are infiltrating the Hoth base. So he switches, there's a sign saying do not enter because there's a Wampa creature in there. And he switches the signs and the stormtroopers go in there and get torn apart by the Wampa creature. And they pulled that scene. Stuff like that,
Nice.
And he did all 3 movies, actually, the despecialized edition. If you just Google despecialized, you'll find it.
Okay.
They have that, you can get this stuff in 1080p. Like this guy did an incredible job.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked beautiful.
And there's a little bit of a thing where you should watch. It's maybe a 10-minute long little documentary that the guy who did this made, and he compares like a lot of the scenes. He A/Bs them, which is kind of cool. Like he shows the original titles and how the colors changed, and how even the font was different.
Why is he so open about this and not getting in trouble?
One, he's not selling it. Two, I doubt he's actually releasing his name or anything like that.
Interesting.
And three, it's it's a labor of love. I'm glad he's doing it.
You want to talk about finding connections in all of Lucas's movies?
Mm-hmm.
With the introduction of the Jawas, like it becomes apparent that Lucas loves midgets because midgets are all over this movie.
And all throughout his career, even.
And all throughout his career, between this and Jedi with the Ewoks.
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck is a midget.
Howard, you really are the worst.
Willow.
Oh yeah, Willow. I forgot about that with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise.
That's not Tom Cruise. Who's it?
Oh wait, who? Tom Cruise was in what movie?
Legend.
Oh, Legend. That's it. But he's a midget.
That's
Dwarf, little person. I'm sorry.
So can I ask what Jawas like? Why do their eyes light up?
That's just the creatures they are.
They're just creatures. Okay.
They're basically the roving pawn shop. You know, they find garbage, they will clean it up, and they sell it.
And that's how we are introduced to our hero, Luke, because these guys go to Luke's uncle's house.
And all the Jawas really say is like, Otini! Otini! Ah! And when they buy it, they buy an R2 unit that has a bad motivator.
So lucky for us.
I believe it was an R5D4. That was the one that was...
Oh my God.
And that's where C-3PO steps up and he goes, that R2 unit is in prime condition.
Speak, Bocce.
Of course I can, sir. It's like a second language to me. I'm a
All right, shut up. I'll take this
Shutting
one.
up, sir. Excuse me, sir, but that R2 unit is in prime condition. A real bargain. I'm quite sure you'll be very pleased with that one, sir. He really is in first-class condition. I've worked with him before. Here he comes.
Okay, let's go.
Now, don't you forget this. Why I should stick my neck out for you is quite beyond my capacity.
And you see, it's funny because they're like constantly like, shut up. Like, I love that C-3PO gets on everyone's nerves.
Because it's funny.
And also when C-3PO is in the oil bath, he's like, this oil bath is going to feel so good.
Thank the maker. This oil bath is going to feel so good. I've got such a bad case of dust contamination I can barely move.
Thank the maker. It's so funny.
Oh.
It's like, what are you you're a robot. It's just so weird.
So,
like you're the Metropolis robot, you know.
So Luke is living with his uncle and auntie in a hole in the ground.
Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
I like the way you say that.
And they are in the end of episode 3, you know.
They are?
You never watched it? You never saw...
I mean, those last two prequels were such heavy going for me. I almost didn't make it through, I think it was the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't remember. Not at all.
No, I mean, they're tough. You know, the second one is where things actually get started. That's where you're kind of, you know, you're getting into some really kind of crazier type of.
I like the political shenanigans that was going on in there. You know, when you learn more about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the manipulation from within.
Yeah, I kind of like that. But, you know, the two leads were so hard to get into. I mean, I just could not stand those two.
Like Ewan McGregor or whatever his name is. I can't do you mean in which one do you mean?
In the second and third.
Okay, so Hayden Christensen and Ewan.
Hayden Christensen.
I always say Ewan. I don't know. Ewan McGregor. You know?
Ewan McGregor.
Who I think is a great actor. And he added a lot to the role. And Natalie Portman was good, I thought. Now, if you actually can sit down and watch episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith, it's a dark movie, man. Like, it is dark. Now, granted, there are a few cringeworthy scenes in this movie.
Like anything with Sam Jackson.
Oh yeah, I mean that's tough to watch for me.
And the unfortunate what they do to Darth Vader. No.
That's the scene I mean, like where it's like rise. You know, but at the same time I watch it, I'm like, all right, it's the birth of Vader. It is what it is, and it's written. George Lucas invented this. We have no choice. It is what it is. It's done. That's what I tell people. Love it or leave it. It is what it is, and that's it. It's official. It's written. If you're gonna love these movies, you have to love them. You can't kind of like them.
Well, you can kind of like them, but
you can kind of like them. I just feel that with episode 3. You get the whole lava planet, there's a lot of craziness going on with all of that.
Yes.
And a lot of people think Hayden Christensen's this awful actor. If you watch it, he does a pretty cool turn to being a bad guy. I mean, he, without, cracking up, he's basically slaughtering children. There are some dark scenes in this movie. But getting back to A New Hope.
Yeah.
I feel as though there aren't as many dark scenes in A New Hope. A New Hope
There's no dark scenes whatsoever.
Sure there are. When they force Princess Leia to say, well, where are the rebels hiding? And to Tatooine. And it's like, that's too remote of a place to test the capabilities of this battle station. Your planet will have to.
We'll just have to blow up your planet.
And
we've never
that was pretty dark.
And in any way, so we're just
right. But that was a pretty dark scene. That's our home planet.
Yeah, no, I understand. Again, it's
granted it's more psychological. It's not the scene where
for her, not for us.
For us, I think we're sharing that moment. Can't trust anyone. That's what basically it's teaching us.
So let's try. Just to quickly go through. I realize we're like.
Yeah, we've entered the 51-minute mark, and we're barely
we're supposed to do all 6 movies. So Luke's living with his uncle on this planet. I did not know. I didn't understand what it was that they were farming.
Yeah, it was moisture.
You explained that to me.
Yeah.
It was moisture.
They live in a pit. They harvest moisture.
Luke becomes aware that there's plans or a message in R2-D2, and he's got to get to Obi-Wan because he's referenced in this Princess Leia hologram message.
Help me, Obi-Wan.
So they go to seek out Obi-Wan real quickly.
Who's basically an old hermit.
But that's when we get introduced to the Sand People. So I have to ask you, who are the Sand People?
They're Sand People, all right. I can see one of them now.
The carjackers.
Yeah, this is not germane to the movie. I was just curious, like if
they're not very important to the movie,
out to the universe and everything in it. So I thought if you had quick explanations.
No, I guess they represent a gang, like they're kind of scavengers.
Which is what I get. That's they knocked Luke out and then they started going through his car.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird.
I bet they were going to strip it.
Yeah, like they were definitely the guys who would have a chop shop available.
But then Obi-Wan chases the Sand People off, and that's where we finally get the full message that's in this R2 unit.
Right, because they go back to Ben's hut, and Ben talks to Luke about his father, who fought in the Clone Wars.
Is there a quick explanation of what the Clone Wars are?
The Clone Wars
that predates even the prequels, right?
No, the Clone Wars is episode 2. Well, no, the Clone Wars is the cartoon, right? The Clone Wars goes on during episode, I believe, 2 and 3.
Okay.
And it's basically what the rebels have done to create an army. They are cloning an army. They're buying, the rebels. And you have to remember that, Anakin Skywalker was a rebel. He was on the side of the rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned, and he took everyone with him, So the good guys were once, the bad guys were once good guys. You see the development of the stormtrooper, in those prequels. Essentially what happens is Ben says that Darth Vader killed your father. And Darth Vader hunted down and killed all of the remaining Jedi, which is true. And saying, and this is something your father would have wanted you to have, and this is where everybody went crazy. And he gave him a lightsaber. And a lightsaber is basically a laser sword. And that's what the tool of a Jedi, the weapon of a Jedi.
Which is still
the coolest thing ever invented.
It is.
Everybody wants one.
It is.
So he says, you should come and, you should come with me to save Princess Leia. Luke's saying, what, are you kidding me? I can't leave. I have Uncle Owen. I have the harvest coming up where there's more moisture, where that came from.
Again, bad acting in that scene.
And they go to they see that the Jawas were attacked, and they noticed that it was the stormtroopers. The Empire had discovered that the Jawas had found those robots, or had those robots. So he thinks, well, if they knew that the robots were with those particular Jawas, then they probably know who they sold them to. So he runs home, and you get the grisly scene of two skeletons basically smoking.
And it looks kind of silly.
It looks a little silly, but at the same time, it looks kind of what it would look like if you burned somebody to death. And he basically killed, Luke's only family. So Luke says, well, there's nothing here for me anymore. I'm out of here. It gets over pretty quickly, actually.
Yes.
They go to the cantina where they don't like to serve droids. As soon as they get there, you get the famous line, because the stormtroopers are basically doing, searching everyone's car. Kind of like what's going on right now in a certain part of the country I'm not going to get into, where they're basically, policing the entire area. And Ben gives this, little thing. He's like, when did you get these droids?
How long have you had these droids?
About 3 or 4 seasons.
They're up for sale if you want them.
Let me see your identification.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
Move along.
Move along. Move along.
I can't abide those Jawas. Disgusting creatures. Go on. Go on. I can't understand how we got by those troops. I thought we were dead.
The Force can have a strong influence on the weak-minded.
So that is going to be your reasoning as to why Vader can't get Leia to divulge the location of the rebel base.
Partially. Leia's a Jedi.
Is why Vader cannot... wait, I had another note. Well, we'll get there. But again, there just seems to be inconsistencies with the Force in this movie and what it can do, what some people do with it, why can't other people do the same thing with it? And
well, there's no rule book.
I don't know why they need to give Leia that needle when I thought Vader could just, if he's such a...
Because it only works on the weak-minded.
That's such a... Okay.
You know what? In Return of the Jedi, Luke comes and he tries to do it on Jabba the Hutt, and Jabba's like, your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me. You know, like if you know it's trying to be done, you're smarter and you have a stronger will. It's like being hypnotized or something. If you don't want to be, you're not going to be. And she's a Jedi. She has Jedi blood in her.
She doesn't know. Yeah, but
it doesn't matter. That's why she's succeeded so much. Luke, on the other hand, I don't know, a little bit of an achiever in there. I guess he's done his best.
So we're in the cantina because we need a pilot to get these guys, to get Luke and Obi and the droids off the planet.
And to make a long story short, we meet Han Solo and Chewbacca.
So when they're negotiating a price, why doesn't Obi-Wan just do the mind trick on Han Solo and say, "You will take us to Alderaan"? You know, why do they have to go and sell the?
Because you can't do it on everyone. It doesn't work on everyone. You don't see them doing it. You don't see them doing it on anyone. Only the idiots really fall for that.
Oh my God, really?
And Han Solo doesn't fall for it.
He doesn't believe in it. But
keep in mind that Stormtrooper's a clone. The kid's like functionally illiterate, you know?
Okay, but then Vader, when he's having a round table of his generals or whatever, and the one guy is dissing him, and so Vader telepathically starts choking him.
Well, that's the Force. That's different.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, that guy wasn't a weak-willed guy.
Well, he's no. He's also not doing a mind trick either. He's choking him.
But he's doing it from across the room.
Oh, that's just to do it, you know,
okay.
It's theatrics right there. Vader, he can't even see with his own eyes. I mean, he gets him on the screen and he starts choking him. It's theatrical.
Okay, not important to the plot of the movie, but the scene with Greedo.
Yes, Greedo. As a matter of fact, I was just going to see your boss. Tell Jabba that I've got his money.
An alien who corners Han Solo. Greedo's working for Jabba the Hutt, who Han Solo owes money to.
Right. Han Solo defends himself because Greedo shoots first.
This was a big controversy.
Yes.
And how did they... So...
None of the versions you saw are the newer versions.
Known for having tinkered with Star Wars and adding stuff.
Yeah.
Totally irrelevant to the movie and totally unnecessary.
Right. I'm going to stick to the original version that we saw, which essentially, I mean, the whole thing is a build-up. You see Han Solo pulling his gun out, getting it ready, sets the thing to kill, I guess, whatever the dial. And he's getting ready.
Han Solo was raised in Ferguson, Missouri. But a ching.
Anyway. Bang, bang. No. Terrible things going on there. Terrible things.
We can edit that out.
Nah. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But, basically Greedo says, I've been waiting a long time for this, Solo, because he basically is saying, if you give me the money, I won't tell Jabba I found you. And he's like, I've looked forward to killing you, that type of thing. And he's like, and Han Solo goes, I bet you have, and he just shoots him. So George Lucas, I feel as though he didn't want Han Solo to be this kind of character who goes around and shoots first. And everybody just got, crazy about it.
I thought he was going to be killed anyway by Greedo. I don't think Greedo had any intention of letting him go.
No, me either.
But, anyway, so now we get out of there and we...
Well, not even got out of there. As soon as they're loading up the Millennium Falcon, the Empire is immediately firing upon them, like within 10 minutes of being hired.
Well, because
Han Solo already has them firing at him. It's amazing. Like, you hire somebody, you say, I just don't want any type of, empirical influence, or, I want no questions asked. All of a sudden you have stormtroopers shooting at you. It's crazy.
Well, that's because people were watching, some aliens were watching and following, and I thought they knew about C-3PO and R2-D2.
Right.
And that's why all the shooting was going on. Not due directly to Han Solo, but he gets them out of there.
No, it had nothing to do with Han Solo. Han Solo just happens to be there at that point.
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry.
He was helping load them up.
So they get out of there. They do that amazing light speed shot.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah.
I just want to say, that shootout in the hangar, and a lot of the shootouts with the lasers and a lot of the action. I mean, I didn't think it was particularly well staged, but
no, I mean it's good enough. I mean, we're talking about lasers, everything.
Yeah, everything's added later. I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's all of this stuff gets better with the next movie because again, Harrison Ford's making $2,000 a week. Granted, it's a lot of money for someone back then, but still, nobody knows that it's going to basically make them for the rest of their lives. It's
so they light speed towards Alderaan, which has just been exploded.
And they come out of light speed, and what happens?
Almost immediately, they're captured by the Dark Star.
Well, they come out and all the Dark Star. They it's like a meteor like thing because the planet. It's all the remnants of the planet being blown up, which I thought was a cool little touch.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. But it just should be noted, like there's more weak Wookiee humor on the ship.
You made a fair move. Screaming about it can't help you.
Let him have it. It's not wise to upset a Wookiee.
But sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
It's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that.
I see your point, sir. I suggest a new strategy, R2. Let the Wookiee win.
Right, they're playing a form of chess.
Yeah, the chess game and just
to let the Wookiee win. It's right there with Jar Jar Binks. It's cute. It's funny. I laughed when I was a kid.
No, not
It's
really,
fine. But to think that Jar Jar Binks doesn't follow along that exact style of humor is just being blind.
Right, exactly. That's the only point I want to make is that don't shoot me because I like Jar Jar Binks, and then I get annoyed at Wookiee humor.
At least Jar Jar can talk.
Exactly.
And he becomes a politician. It becomes kind of important.
Very, very bad.
Just a little bit important to the plot of Star Wars, thanks.
But
I'm not gonna put down, a grunting Chewbacca thing.
So the Millennium Falcon is captured. Amazingly, they elude the stormtroopers who are searching for them.
The old stash, like they're then like in the floor.
But all right, let's give it that. They dress up as stormtroopers. They clunk some stormtroopers on the head.
That's awesome.
Dress up, rescue Leia.
She even makes a good joke, saying, "Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?"
Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Huh? Oh, the uniform. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
You're who?
I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi.
Ben Kenobi? Where is he?
Come on.
All right, that was funny, but when she's lying sexily on her prison bunk, I was like, she's not attractive.
I think there's nothing wrong with her. I think she's not supposed to be either. She's supposed to be like a pretty girl. And that's it. Like, you're not supposed to think she's a sex symbol.
So I will give you that line that you mentioned, but then she starts, like I mentioned before, she starts this bantering with Han Solo, and after 3 seconds, Han Solo's like, I think I'm beginning to like her.
No, it's like, I don't know if I hate her or I'm beginning to like her. I think that's a classic line. That's funny.
Wonderful girl. Either I'm going to kill her or I'm beginning to like her. Get in there. What an incredible smell you've discovered.
Funny.
I don't
Well, she's bossy, and that's the whole thing. She's like this big loudmouth, and he's in it for the money. So
I have to say that this section had Harrison Ford's best scene when they've knocked out everybody in that control room, and he has to get on the speaker to people who are saying, "What's going on there?" And he's like, "Oh, everything's okay here." I really thought he really came into his own with that scene.
You mean the one where he's like, "Everything's good here, everything's fine.
Yep.
How are things there? How are you?"
that was,
and then he shoots the panel.
That's when I started liking him, and I was like, all right, he's growing on me, and a few of the other people aren't. I mean, Luke gets more annoying when they're in the garbage dump.
I
when
don't
they
know.
Jump
I
into
mean,
the
I thought he was great in that.
Because all he's doing is like, C-3PO! C-3PO, where are you?
But that's the funny thing, is then C-3PO hears him calling, and he's like, oh my goodness, they're being crushed.
3PO!
We've had some problems.
Will you gentlemen listen to me? Shut down all the garbage smashes on the detention level, will ya? Do you copy? Shut down all the garbage smashes on the detention level! Shut down all the garbage smashes on the detention level!
No! Shut them all down! Hurry!
What?
Listen to them. They're dying, R2. Curse my metal body. I wasn't fast enough. It's all my fault. My poor master.
We're all right! You did great! Hey! Open the pressure maintenance hatch on you!
Shut them all down. Another thing, like, the creature that was in there. When I was a kid, I used to have the Death Star toy. And you get the garbage was all just pieces of foam.
Nice.
And I remember I played with that thing for hours. I love that thing. I wish I still had it.
Here's the new Star Wars Death Star space station that you put together. Action figures each sold separately.
Darth Vader's firing a laser cannon. It's been hit. He's after Luke. Take the elevator. Hurry. Now cross the light bridge. You won't escape me. Jump, Luke. Oh, no. The trash compactor. There's a trash monster. The wall's closing. Save.
Kenner's new Star Wars Death Star space station. Action figures each sold separately.
I'm surprised you haven't looked on eBay for it. And if
it's one of the more expensive ones. It's nothing I would really go and get. Now.
I don't understand why that creature could drag Luke under like ankle high water.
Well, because it pulled him into another part of the garbage compactor, I thought. Because remember, like, when the thing vanishes?
Yeah.
It left that area because it was about to... It knows that if it doesn't, it's going to get compacted.
So okay. So it's able to somehow get out from this...
And it has its, like, nest or something.
Okay.
That's what I always thought, anyway. And that was all, in the movie, that was all spray painted or painted styrofoam.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But, a trash compactor is kind of a fun idea.
Yeah, no, I thought...
The whole scene I thought was very fun.
That was interesting.
And then when, they save them, R2D, you get the, like, R2D2, like, putting, hacking into, like, the Death Star computer.
I wanted to ask about that. Like... as a plot contrivance, R2D2 can just pull up to any part of this place or any place, like when he's on the back of the dog fighter at the end.
Well, he's a protocol droid,
He's able to tap into anything by any random hole that happens to be. I was just like,
it's like a USB port, It's like it's not. Apparently, the Empire did not create a proprietary port like Apple would. But even on the side of an Apple, they have USB ports.
Okay. All right. I'll go with it. Look, I'm going with it.
There was no defense because who's going to get... That's another thing. If they're not willing to fix the whole of the 3-meter thing to blow up the entire place, they're not going to put any type of, like, a firewall up to protect, from being hacked into. There's no passwords on any of that software. It's probably all being run on a Commodore 64.
I like the entire scene, don't get me wrong, from when they magically elude the stormtroopers to breaking out Leia, the garbage thing.
And then it's awesome, man.
With so let me ask you this though. So Obi-Wan wants Darth to kill him. Is that it? I mean, he just seems to.
I didn't understand until I was older, but Obi-Wan wants Darth Vader to kill him for a number of reasons. One, it's going to light a fire under Luke, because this guy not only killed his father, but he now killed Ben Kenobi in front of him, you know? And knowing that Luke is from, Vader, he knows that this is the beginning of the end of the Empire. So there was no doubt that Luke was not going to just let this go. On the other hand, he's letting his pupil kill him. To almost think like, all right, I got another Jedi. And I believe that they also explained in the newer expanded universe about Yoda and probably Ben Kenobi, and about they had to study another way of living in the afterlife. Like, it's a whole other level that they get to live in. Like, not everyone who is a Jedi could do that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
I thought that was a great scene, because even Vader was like, what just happened? Like, huh? To this day, I still don't like when, they're all watching too. You have the stormtroopers all watching, like it's like a boxing match. And then all of a sudden you have Luke go, no! And they turn around and start shooting. It's like, just get on the ship and get out of there. Like,
And then he spends all of like 5 minutes mourning Ben. I just can't believe he's gone.
Yeah.
And Han is like, come on, we got to go get in our seats. And
that was a fun scene too. And
that's a good scene too. And again, Harrison Ford has some funny lines.
Yeah.
Don't get cocky.
So, like I say, he's really growing on me. Luke,
still kind of on the fence.
I'm getting accustomed to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he gets better in the next movie.
You sense something. You're like, all right, I could see, like, this is a kid who is. In the past 20 minutes, he lost 3 people. Like, and he sold his land speeder. It's all gone. Yeah. His 2 best friends are droids.
They get away, and then comes the famous dogfight at the end, where they have to play the video game.
Mm-hmm. And you think at this point Han Solo was leaving.
Right, and this is where I thought, oh, well, Luke is gay. Because it's like, why are you leaving? Come on. Stay.
Yeah. Well, I felt it was a fitting explanation. He was there for the money.
Right. Oh, come on. You didn't really think he was leaving.
I don't know. I don't know what I thought back then.
And then, so during the dogfight, Darth, like, does his own dirty work. He gets in.
I still think that was bizarre to me. Right. Like Darth Vader, like, I don't know. It seems
the second in command of, I don't know if he's the second in command, but like someone high up in the Empire is actually going to get in a ship.
It's like Michelle Obama getting in, to a tank.
You saying that because Darth Vader is black?
No, I'm saying that because I think Michelle Obama is higher up than her husband.
Ouch. So, yes, you're right. So I think it's just a reason. I mean, you could have given any reason to get.
But you know what else?
Darth off the Death Star, because it has to explode.
It's also a good excuse to have Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, which is a total badass looking TIE Fighter.
It is.
If you look at it, the back is jacked up like a muscle car. And all of the ships they sound like muscle cars. And he has like the 2 other ones. I mean, it's all the TIE Fighters are so cool.
They are.
And Millennium Falcon is too.
I remember those. I liked the TIE Fighters better when I was a kid. I remember those. I remember playing.
I'm trying to think. Was it the Millennium? I think the TIE Fighter was a mix of a muscle car and an elephant. Yeah, the way they got the sound.
I used to be able to do that sound, but I'm not going to do it here.
It's like, no, I'll get the actual sound and throw it in here.
That's awesome.
And also, I think the lightsaber has something to do with connecting a car battery on a fence and like hitting it with a wire. It could have been a rumor. I'll look into that. Sound effects that George Lucas get are incredible. I mean, you know that. I mean, the guy's groundbreaking with ILM. And we used to work with somebody who knew ILM very well, who I don't remember her last name, Kathy something.
Really?
Yeah, she worked on the 5th floor.
Why would she be working on the 5th floor of
She actually went to the Skywalker Ranch. And she gave me some type of stuff like that they gave, like she went there for some meeting and they gave, stuff to everybody who came. She actually gave me this stuff. I have it around here somewhere.
I'm curious, what would you rather do? Would you rather visit the Apple campus or the Skywalker?
Wait, the Skywalker thing or what?
The Apple, the home of Apple computers, their campus, their...
I would say the Skywalker Ranch because I have zero interest in going to the Apple thing anyway.
Really? Okay,
I'd rather go to 7-Eleven than go see an Apple thing.
Okay, I'm trying to think of some techie.
And I've been to the Google thing in New York.
Really?
Yeah, I got I have a friend of a friend who works there, so I got to eat some sushi there, and I had some actual Google Diet Coke.
Nice.
Not Diet Coke, regular Coke. If you look on the actual can, it says specially made for Google, and it has pure cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of cool. They wouldn't let me keep the can though. Seriously, they're like, you can't take anything with you.
All right, I won't try and Google an image then.
You probably can. I mean, I'm sure somebody got it out there, but it was, the cafeteria was pretty cool, and it's all like free. Anyway,
I would like to go to the Skywalker Ranch and
I'd love to
see what that's about.
Yeah, totally. There's also, with all of these things that he created, the details are crazy because a lot of it is, well, on one hand, it's crazy. On the other hand, it's not. If you go back to the Jawas when they were first selling the Jawas, if you look at some of the droids, they're actually like a Roy Rogers garbage can. If you look at it.
Rogers garbage can?
Yeah, like, like you go to a fast food joint and they have like the garbage can.
Yeah.
If you look in the background, it's an actual garbage can.
with the 2 feet, which is obviously the person. And what practical purpose could that be? There were so many droids in here where I was like,
well,
what could that possibly
come up with something? It's a recycling droid, You take a dump in there and it recycles it into moisture.
When Chewie and the gang are escaping with Leia on the Death Star, there's one... Oh, no. This is when they're first going up to break her out, and they feign like Chewie is tied up. But a little tiny droid thing comes around, and Chewie goes...
Makes no sense.
Wookiee humor.
Yeah.
But again, I was like, what could that thing possibly do except to be a...
I have a million answers for that kind of stuff. It's like it's doing inventory. It's
waxing the floors.
It's keeping track of people. It's anything. It's...
Okay, but when we're in that...
Testing air.
That garbage truck driven by the Jawas. I mean, I was just like... And even the droids that you see on Uncle and Auntie's
Uncle
farm,
Owen,
I'm like, what purpose could the ones that you see be doing?
That's why they needed new ones.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they did look very Erector set.
Yes, but some of them were funny, and some of them were, I don't know. It's like the cantina scene. Some of the aliens.
Oh, some of the aliens look terrible. They're very rubber masked.
Yeah, very, very Halloween.
But I mean, not everything can be the same quality.
Actually, I found it charming. I love the cantina scene. Actually,
the music is incredible. We found a number of cover songs and different disco versions of all of this music. I mean, and the soundtrack is incredible. It's very.
Let's talk about the music. I mean, this was John Williams' fertile period before he turned maudlin with Spielberg and just does these historical epics or this sweeping, just boring music. And here he's doing adventure music.
But he also did Indiana Jones.
Right. I mean, from this period, this is not my favorite. I like the Indiana Jones better. I like Superman better.
Yeah, Superman's a wonderful soundtrack.
But I do like when the movie starts and that burst of music comes in.
It's a kick-ass. That's how you're testing your stereo system at home.
Yep.
Like when I have in my living room a 7.1 surround, but not THX certified, but it's a 7.1. When I put on that movie on the Blu-ray, that's how I'm testing it. I want to hear that like when I was a kid. Even though in my living room it probably sounds better than the movie theater that I saw it in, I want it to be amazing. And I want my kid to cover his ears and jump or whatever. I want my dog to run out of the room. And it is, it's really sounds really, really great. But this despecialized edition, it kicks my ass. It sounds great.
It's just amazing, just a great way to open your movie with this fanfare.
And again, no credits.
No credits.
You have produced. Yeah, you have the Fox 20th Century. I'm assuming that was in there originally, right?
I would think it had to be.
It probably did have a regular text version of Lucasfilm, and then the movie.
Yep.
I love that.
Just a great that.
Also, the transitions, the film transitions themselves, the sweeps.
I hated that.
Well, those are very, very popular in in the 20s and 30s and 40s.
Yeah. I was like, that part. I was like, that's kind of that takes it down a notch for me. But
yeah, all right. I mean, but as I'm a fan of that era of film, and I see what he was trying to do, and I feel as though he achieved on so many levels. And even in the newer movies, he's trying to touch upon, when you, I know talking a lot about the trilogy, the early trilogy, the new trilogy, the prequels rather, but when he goes and goes to the Phantom Menace, all the ships and everything sound like the cars from the 50s. If you listen to them. They sound like they don't have a muffler on them. Everything's very loud, although it's very polished. And there are little things, little details. In the Clone Wars, I don't know if you ever watched it on Comedy Central or Cartoon Network, whichever one it's on. There's this running commentator of 1940s type of newsreels, where it's the rebel army is now in a state of disarray, and he's trying to do something. And I feel as though maybe not George Lucas specifically anymore. Obviously he sold it all to Disney, but I feel as though the story is going towards, those type of things. And I think it's charming to see these things. I wish more people would pick up on them, because the announcer kind of guy I'm talking about, like
No, I know.
That's like a dead accent. Like nobody does that accent anymore. And this is the kind of thing that's keeping it alive. It's like old time radio, which we were just talking about pretty recently. And that's what this reminds me also of, is a simple story that you would hear on the radio.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Carrie Burney would know what I'm talking about. If she's out there, call in.
So basically, at the end, very simplistic end, Luke saves the day.
I have you now. What?
Yahoo! Look out! You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
Han Solo comes in. Darth Vader's on Luke's butt.
But you also have the voice of Ben. You have the voice of Ben. Going, Luke.
There's, those are kind of funny when he does that, because Luke's reaction is like, huh, what, huh?
Yeah, it's like
it's kind of he kind of ruins what they're trying to do with that. But anyway, at the end, Han Solo gets Darth Vader off because for some reason, Darth, who is on Luke's tail, he's going to get him. He does it. He somehow his force, his use of the force cannot tell him that, hey, somebody's coming up behind you like a spider sense.
Well, like I was saying, we talked about this a little bit. Darth Vader is responsible for killing all of the Jedis, right? He just killed the last one, right? Ben Kenobi. He's now behind somebody, and he goes, the Force is strong in this one.
Right.
Who the hell has the Force? Who is this? He's distracted because he's part of the dark side. He doesn't have the focus of a real Jedi anymore. And he's distracted for even a millisecond. Han Solo comes in, and you even see Darth Vader go, what?
We have to play that clip.
It sounds very Yiddish, like, what? And
have you now? What?
Yahoo!
It almost rivals, not almost, it almost rivals the no at the end of the set.
Yeah, right? I have you now. What? I have you now.
So again, poor directing. But anyway, the Death Star blows up. Peter Cushing's on it. I wish he had gotten off. I wish we had seen him again.
Yeah.
End of story.
Well, Peter Cushing is pretty sure of winning this.
I know. What? Evacuate? In our time of triumph?
Yeah. Was it like in our time of triumph or a moment of triumph? I forget.
Something like that.
We've analyzed their attack, sir, and there is a danger. Should I have your ship standing by?
Evacuate? In our moment of triumph? I think you overestimate their chances.
Really, really incredible. I'm looking at a picture of him now, and what a scary looking guy, man. Seriously. Anyway, so that's how it ends. In the newer version, they put this kind of halo around the Death Star when it blew up. They got rid of that in the despecialized version.
So what? So can you?
That was a pretty good explosion, right?
Yeah, that was a good one. But
and even the sound, it sounded like a bowling, if you get a strike in a bowling alley. It's like,
So I mean, compare that to the Alderaan, and you can see how one is Superman 4 and one is like the original Superman.
Right. And the ending scene with the medals, I always felt as though it was very unnecessary.
Yes.
Even to this day, I don't really like. I find it cringeworthy.
Yeah, cheesy. Yeah.
The only good things are you find out that R2-D2 is fixed because he got shot. And they're all polished up and they look great. And they're getting medals. I don't know. Like, it's It's against the whole Jedi thing. It's the ego and all this kind of stuff. But, also, if you look at the early version of that scene, a lot of those stormtroopers are cardboard cutouts.
No way, really?
Yeah, probably on the VHS version that we have, you'll see that those are not... Yeah.
I am going back to
Yeah,
that.
you have to go back and they fixed it, of course, digitally. But if you look at the early versions on VHS, I'm sure you can see that.
So what other major... So you're not a fan and will never watch what Lucas has done?
No, it's not true. I own it. I've seen it. It's
So
good. It's good.
Are there... is it? So there's major... not major, but... So you approve of what he's done except for the
It's
Han Solo.
his. I mean, he has more of a say than I do. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, but now everybody's doing it. Like Spielberg went back to E.T. to white out some guns.
I never saw E.T. So
I haven't never seen it all the way through either.
I never saw it at all. I went on the Universal Pictures ride. That's the closest I got to the movie.
The only reason I would show it to my kids is not because
you're supposed to.
Movie. It's I would let them watch it to show them special effects. To like, look, there's a little creature there.
I heard it's a good movie. I heard you have to see it. That's another thing. But we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's old enough to watch it yet. I know you push like stuff a little bit sooner on your kids.
We're up to Nightmare on Elm Street. So.
But, you really do have to be careful with some of this because you don't want to desensitize. I mean, these kids are going to grow up desensitized regardless. So I feel as though it's very important, at least for me, to make sure that he understands that, you can't just watch a movie and expect it to be the money shot always. And that's how movies are made now. And that's why I think that these movies are important. They do tell a story. A New Hope is a very slow-paced movie, as you recall. It takes a while to get up to that battle scene.
It does, but I'm intrigued in the beginning. I'm annoyed by the robots, and then the bad acting on Luke Skywalker. But I'm intrigued by the world that's being built, that we're being introduced to. So that sort of carried me over the humps. When Darth Vader looks cool, Peter Cushing is amazing, Obi-Wan is interesting.
Another thing that's interesting is whenever they go to the Empire, there's a low rumble constantly. I only noticed it when I was watching it on my system, but whenever there's the Vader or something like that, you hear in the background the low rumble of the Death Star. And it's just kind of just a low hum. And it's just like a mechanical noise that doesn't exist anywhere else in the movie. And it gives you that feeling of like you're on this constantly in movement ship. That's a planet or a moon.
Oh.
It's pretty crazy.
So your final thoughts on Star Wars?
I will watch it a number more times.
I will watch it. I really want to do Empire. I think we should do the original trilogy, actually.
Well,
just to follow the story as it progresses.
Yeah, if we space it out, I'd be happy to do another one.
But look, I like it. I'm not. How excited are you for the new Star Wars?
Very. I think that Disney is doing a complete bang up job, doing so much. They, I think,
realize what you just said. If there's
I think Disney.
It's Disney.
Disney. There's no other company. There's no other superpower out there that could do it right. Other than Disney. No other, but you give this to any other company, there'll be financial sacrifices. There'll be cut this, cut that. Everything is being done now, and people hate it. I don't care if they hate it. I think that Disney is going to give the fans exactly what they want because they know it's in their best interest to make the fans happy.
Okay, so what about...
Always has been.
the idea that they're bringing back Skywalker, not Skywalker, they're
Mark
bringing
Hamill?
back Mark Hamill.
Now, have you
Han
seen
Solo.
Mark Hamill?
He's a crazy bird.
No, Mark Hamill just kind of Instagrammed a photo like yesterday, the day before. He must have dropped about 25 or 30 pounds. He's got the goatee going, and he looks like he's totally in shape. He looks great. He looks like exactly like he looks like he doesn't look like Mark Hamill in the photo. And in the background, it just says filming 7, filming V, Roman numeral V11 or II. He just has his arms crossed looking at the camera, and, he looks perfect. He looks great. Now, Harrison Ford's older. I mean, everyone is older.
Older.
Now, I think that, on the other hand, I think that Mark Hamill looks the part of the older Jedi now. He looks great.
Yeah, he does. I'm looking at that photo now. He does look like an Obi-Wan.
Now, his voice has always bugged me because his voice sounds exactly like it did in 1977.
Holy cow.
What?
Oh, that could be a problem.
But, that might not be a problem because they could fix that. They drop it a semitone or something like that. They did for the female in the new trilogy. What's her name? The one who was in Black Swan. Yeah, Natalie Portman. Her voice is dropped a slight semitone. Just to give her a little bit more of a deeper voice.
Interesting.
And Mark Hamill, I think Mark Hamill's going to be great in this movie. I think everyone's going to be great in this movie. I think that they are filming exactly the movie we want to see, or at least I want to see.
I have props for the director, so I like what he did with the Star Trek movies.
Right, and I hate Star Trek. I mean, I like Wrath of Khan. That's it. I mean,
ouch.
No, and I found the first Star Trek, the movie or the first one, horrible, so long and boring. It's like, oh my god.
It is that, but I actually like it.
I mean, I respect it, but I don't. I would never watch that movie again.
I love the original crew. I don't like Next Gen. They're terrible.
I don't.
Wow, I hope we get letters. I'm just dissing everything. Star Wars. Oh, Next Gen.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I think everybody should go see this. Everybody should try to grab the despecialized edition. And if you're in a thrift shop or something like that and you see a VHS copy, you should grab it.
Or a beta copy.
If you have a beta copy, I want it. Even though I don't even have a Betamax machine at the moment, but I might.
Soon.
Several. Soon. Anyway, Chris, thank you very much for getting together this evening. I appreciate it. And may the force be with you.
And with you.
My geekiness is getting in the way of my nerdiness. I'm starting to notice as I grow older. I had this really sad realization. I was thinking the other day about a time machine. If I had a time machine, because I'm really into history, like would I go back and witness something, or like find out who Jack the Ripper was, or stop the Kennedy assassination? And the first thing I thought of doing, if I actually had a time machine, is I would go back to around 1993 or 94 and kill George Lucas with a shovel. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And stop him from making the prequels. That's how I would try to save history. Fucking pathetic. I mean, I don't even know how I would have reacted if I just run into him on the street, like going, "Oh my God, you're fucking George Lucas, dude." Like, I don't want to bother you and nerd out, but like, Star Wars is one of my favorite movies, and I just want to thank you, man. Just thanks for all that. It's so great. You like Star Wars? I got some good news. I'm working on the 3 prequels, the first 3 chapters. Oh, really? You're going to do finally! Oh my God, that's awesome, dude. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Well, hey, you say you're a Star Wars fan. Do you like Darth Vader? I fucking love Darth Vader, dude. The helmet and the cape with the sword, that's great, man. Is he in the first movie? Yeah, in the first movie, you get to see him as a little kid. Is he like a little Damien Omen kid, like evil and killing people with his mind and shit like that? No, he's just like this little kid, and then he gets taken away from his mom, and he's very sad. I don't really care about him as a little kid at all. At all. I just like the helmet and the sword and the cape. That was kind of cool about him. Well, hey, don't worry, because guess who shows up in the second movie? Boba Fett. There you fucking Boba Fett, yes, with the helmet, and he's a bounty hunter. That is awesome, man. That is so cool. Yeah, and in the second movie, you get to see him as a little kid. Again, I don't really care about him when he was a little kid. I like the ship and the helmet and the killing people. Is he like it? Does he have the little helmet on and he's killing people? Is that what's going on? No, he's like this little kid, and then his dad dies, and he's very sad. Do not give a shit at all about that. Could not care less. Well, don't worry, because in the third movie, you know what shows up? The Death Star. Awesome, man, that fucking... Wait a minute, what is it doing, George? Well, you just see it at the very end of the movie. It's being built, and Darth Vader's just kind of looking at it. Again, I don't care how they built it, how they put in the toilets or the air conditioning. I just like it when it's done and then it's blowing planets up. That's kind of what's cool about it. You look really sad. Dude, I gotta say, I'm pretty fucking sad, man. That sounds awful. That all just sounds like shit. Would you like some ice cream? I would like some ice cream. I like ice cream, man. That'd be cool if I had like a dish of ice cream. Well, here's a big bag of rock salt. You just said I was gonna have a dish of ice cream. Well, when you combine the rock salt with ice and cream and sugar and flavoring, it becomes... I don't give a shit where the stuff I love comes from. I just love the stuff I love. Hey, do you like Angelina Jolie? Does she give you a big boner? Well, here's John Voight's ball sack. That's right. The pink, glistening ball sack she swam out of. Now jerk off to that, you lucky so-and-so.